Hello, this is Dr. Garrett Castleberry, Program Director for Communication, Media, and Ethics here at Mid-America Christian University. I am here representing Communication 3533, Public Relations, Advertising, and Brand Management. As always, we offer courses that are a mouthful to take in, but it's not just surface value. We are also looking to fill the minds of students, and one of the ways we do so in an online setting is through what we call an asynchronous dialogue. And so an asynchronous dialogue is somewhat of an exercise in reader response, where students participate by reading each of our weekly assignments and then generating thoughtful, encouraging, rigorous discussion questions. They submit those questions, and of the voluminous amount of content coming through, we select some of the best to work through each week in our Q&A digital lecture, aka the asynchronous dialogue. All right, and so I am here with questions from our class, and we're going to engage in a few for week 1 of public relations, advertising, and brand management. And let's kick off with some questions from Justice. All right, so Justice has questions that really can open up some key themes out of the readings. We're drawing readings this week from 2 of our 3 main texts. We'll be looking at questions from Arthur Asaberger's Ads, Fads, and Consumer Culture, Advertising's Impact on American Character and Society, and Robin Blakeman's Integrated Marketing Communication, Creative Strategy from Idea to Implementation. All right, 2 of our key readings in this course. First question Justin offers here asks, why is it so expensive to create television commercials, sometimes more costly than the TV shows that air themselves, when a majority of people often skip over commercials or use that time for restroom, snack breaks, and so on? This is a good broad question to get us thinking about the roles advertising plays in as a financial institution, right, as an economic mode of capitalism, but as a cultural role, okay? And so one of the best ways we can approach courses like these and these types of readings that are in conversation with one another, whether directly or indirectly, is to think about these various interrelating, overlapping systems of exchange taking place. Here, but back to the question about why would they compare and contrast the cost versus how frequently audiences are not tuning into the commercials. And so a couple of things I would say is that first of all, production costs continue to go up. All right, ad rates over time continue to inflate. There's also an increase in volume, the amount of volume that is preferred for a given advertising campaign. So what I mean by volume is, rather than purchasing one commercial to air in a 7 p.m. to 7:30 or 8 p.m. time slot, the average recommended advertising strategy is that you would advertise 3 times within that given hour, so that your message has a greatest potential to be received and possibly impact through saturation, okay, of repetition. And so there's also a philosophy behind all of advertising that you have to spend money to make money. And so this is where a lot of these large costs can come from. And at the same time, something we will continue to discuss in this class and other classes is that advertising, one of the biggest revelations we can recognize is that nothing is guaranteed in the world of advertising, okay? So there's no guarantee on return for the amount of money a company or organization or brand puts into marketing their product, their idea. But we can get strategic about how we market, and we can focus those money signs in hopefully the best possible direction. But that too takes money to gather that kind of data, analyze it properly, and then focus it in the right direction. But back to that general question about the costs versus the trends. The trends being we're tuning out during commercials. We're finding other things to do. We're taking breaks. We're fast forwarding. Okay, so many people have DVR now, or will opt for streaming services that allow them to bypass advertising. But this is one reason. I'm going to do a quick book plug here. One reason that our communication media and ethics courses, particularly the media studies courses and some of the social media focused courses, we recognize the value of what Jenkins, Ford, and Green call a spreadable media model of mass communication. So this is one reason why that book in particular, Spreadable Media, plays a prominent role in a couple of our classes, because it has some valuable takeaways that extend themselves theoretically, methodologically, but also professionally. They explain professional and practical phenomenon as it occurs in real world and digital world settings. Okay, that's fun. Here we go. The same applies to radio commercials. Most people don't scan the radio and stop on stations that are airing a commercial. In fact, they seem to do the complete opposite. Also, the public now has access to many forms of free radio, right? All right, and so one of the things we can recognize is advertising effectiveness continues to go down in certain ways, and at the same time, consumer savviness, right? A savvy consumer that understands some of these practices and techniques of advertising, our understanding of that continues to go up, all right? So, in other words, ultimately the mediums must evolve. The medium of radio must evolve. The medium of television must evolve. The medium of journalism must evolve. If we want to think of it in relation to print journalism, it must evolve to meet these new standards. So these evolutions must take place, or as the Spreadable Media motto goes, if it doesn't spread, or we could say evolve, it's dead, or it runs out of steam, okay? This is what I say. Print journalism is dead. It's for those that can't adapt, they fall by the wayside. Stuart Hall, a British scholar, believes that people don't often interpret advertisements or commercials the way they were supposed to interpret them. If this is true, then what exactly is the point of using advertisements as a form of persuasion? A great question, and if hang around long enough, we definitely sample a little bit of Stuart Hall here and there. But in breaking this down, ads don't always have to be interpreted accurately or perfectly, so long as the advertisement says the message generates attention and once again spreads brand recognition, creates brand awareness, all right, with consumers. And some of you picked up on these types of questions about that the old adage that any publicity is good publicity, right? Even bad ads can still attract positive attention, that sort of thing. And that's important to recognize here, but also specifically that Hall often theorizes about how there are dominant meanings to any given text, but oftentimes there are sort of negotiated readings that take place, right? Or we can even resist or read in alternative kinds of ways. We can still get meaning out of some kind of message if it's open-coded to a certain degree. All right. So just for expediency's sake, man, so many good questions coming this week. Our text says, quote, Super Bowl commercials that bomb or fall flat for one reason or another, are a disaster. Okay, we were just talking about this. Not only do they turn off members of the audience, but they are likely to be ridiculed in the media sports on the Super Bowl commercials, end quote, from Berger, page 28. The worst commercials aired will be talked about just as much, in other words, if not more than the winning commercials. However, even if a Budweiser or Doritos, right, Frito-Lay, release a bad quote-unquote commercial, I seriously doubt that consumers would stop buying their products. Certain companies, there's a great takeaway here. Certain companies just need to keep their name floating, right? They just need to keep reminding consumers, hey, don't forget, we exist. All right, Doritos is a company, well, Doritos is a division, a brand under the Frito-Lay banner, but that is an example where the chip brand just needs to keep its name out there, even if its advertising strategy is, Whereas, let me do a counter comparison using the alternative example that you offer here in Budweiser. Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch, okay. Budweiser is but a brand owned by the larger corporation Anheuser-Busch. Budweiser has a notorious ad campaign stretching decades during the Super Bowl, right? The most watched media event of any given year. And despite this, and despite the consistency of, let's say, quality in the Budweiser ad campaigns each year, and these take on generally two forms. There's the kind of lowbrow, humorous Bud Light commercials, but that's not quite the same brand. It's an offshoot. It's like the Diet Coke versus Coke. But then there's your Budweiser ads, which are most closely aligned with the Clydesdale horses, right? The horses, to transition to the dog, transition to the puppy, back to horses, right? That sort of, those commercials, even if we haven't caught every Super Bowl, so many people have ingrained those ad campaigns. Well, regardless of their successful narrative strategy and the campaign arc itself, we've actually seen a significant decrease in Budweiser sales. All right, so this is something a lot of advertising marketers and media scholars write about. This is in regular dialogue in a number of publications, but the significant decrease in sales in that specific area. Okay, so the U.S. consumer is simply not buying that product anymore, despite a relatively positive, if not patriotic ad campaign, all right, something that's very upbeat, that's sentimental, but yet the product itself is still in decline. So sometimes even a strong campaign can't combat those market shifts as they occur. All right, so let's see, time for one more. How will super duper long. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, reset, shuffle the deck, grab a few more questions, and we will be back with part 2 of COM 3533, PR advertising, brand management, asynchronous dialogue, Q&A lecture. Word vomit. Thanks.